Secretary of the Trump White House, Sean Spicer, probably did not think that that role would propel him into the spotlight quite as much as it did. But his often rocky relationship with the press, especially during his daily briefings, led to some memorable TV moments for him and some unforgettable late-night impersonations for us. Watch. On President Trump's first full day in office, it was Press Secretary Sean Spicer getting a lot of the attention.
This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period. We had to take a few of your questions. John.
Spicer quickly developed a contentious relationship with the media.
I think the president's made it clear what his position is.
That's not my question. So
I understand that because that's what the president's position is.
Settle down! Settle down!
Saturday Night Live immediately pounced on his demeanor at the podium.
Now, I'd like to begin today by apologizing on behalf of you to me for how you have treated me these last 2 weeks. And that apology is not accepted. I'm here to swallow gum, and I'm here to take names.
Back in Washington, the press corps would regularly spar with Spicer over his interpretation of facts.
I think sometimes we can disagree with the facts.
He would often fend off questions about the Russia investigation.
If the president puts Russian salad dressing on his salad tonight, somehow that's a Russian connection.
And he later apologized for these remarks when talking about chemical weapons in Syria.
Someone as despicable as Hitler, who didn't even sink to using chemical weapons.
After resigning from his post, Spicer himself got in on the joke, surprising crowds at the Emmy Awards.
This will be the largest audience to witness an Emmys, period.
Finally poking fun at himself after months of being the brunt of the joke.
The press interview is over.
Sean Spicer has a new book out. It comes out Tuesday. It's called The Briefing, and Sean is with us now. Sean, welcome to you.
Thank you, I think.
It must feel good to laugh about that.
Let's just put it this way. I'd rather be sitting in this chair than standing behind a podium.
Yes, of course, right? I mean, do you look at Sarah Huckabee Sanders with empathy, or what do you feel when you watch her up there doing it now?
Having been there and know what it takes to do that on a daily basis, obviously Sarah's a great friend, and I have a lot of admiration for what she does in the sense that it takes a lot of preparation on a daily basis to get ready to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, critics would say it takes an ability to disassociate from the truth.
Yeah, well, I've heard a lot of that.
Yeah. So let's go back to the thing that started the problems for you, which you detail in the book. And it's actually an interesting backstory, how you got called in there. You weren't expecting to do a briefing. You weren't wearing your best suit. But Trump wanted you to
today with a much better...
You look very dapper.
Thank you.
President Trump wanted you to get out there and fight the narrative about the inauguration crowd sizes. And, you know, they weren't as big as Obama's, and Trump didn't like that. And here is what Sean did that got him in trouble.
Photographs of the inaugural proceedings were intentionally framed in a way, in one particular tweet, to minimize the enormous support that had gathered on the National Mall. Inaccurate numbers involving crowd size were also tweeted. No one had numbers because the National Park Service, which controls the National Mall, does not put any out. This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe. Even the New York Times...
No, but it wasn't. It wasn't. And, I mean, do you acknowledge that now? That was not true.
If I could have a do-over, I would take it.
Do you acknowledge that that was not true?
Well, first of all, what I said on that...
Hold on. Because was that true or was that not true?
What I said was the totality of the people who watched it online and everywhere.
No, you didn't. We all heard what you just said. You said ever, including in person.
In person or around the globe.
Both.
Right, both combined.
No.
No, should I look?
In person and around the globe.
Correct.
So was that true or wasn't?
Witness an inauguration.
So you're still standing by it?
No, I'm saying that I could have done that a heck of a lot better. But the point is that what we were conflating was the number of people standing in one position versus what I was trying to do, and admittedly not well. Like, I'm not sitting, but
and not truthfully.
But no, the number of people who watched it live on Twitter. Hold on. You know what? Look, here's the point. The number that was the highest rated live Twitter event that ever occurred. The website traffic was through the roof.
The number of people on the National Mall did not compare to the number that showed up for Barack Obama.
You're asking me what I
correct.
said.
Yes.
Correct.
You admit that.
But what I was trying to do was to say, okay, the number of people that witnessed it, including the platforms that didn't exist 8 years prior.
Yeah, but you went on to talk about the number of people who rode the metro in to see it, and you had those facts wrong, too.
If you're asking me, hold on. Would I have liked to have done that all over? Absolutely. There is no one save my wife, God bless her, and my mom, who thought I did, and I don't even think they did an okay job. They just said it to make me feel better.
But here's
there
the
was
question.
nobody. The president himself calls me right afterwards. Was like, "What were you thinking?"
No, because the president went out there and said we caught the media in a lie when talking about his crowd sizes. So he was with you in what you said.
No, he wasn't. He called me right afterwards.
Then why did he say publicly we caught the media in a lie?
All I'm telling you is that as far as what I did and what you're asking me about, my accountability, I screwed that day up by all accounts. It saved nobody.
Yeah. So the reason you did is because he called you in there and told you to do it.
Here's what happened. On Friday night, the president gets inaugurated at noon. We go down to the White House. The president kicks off the day by signing a series of executive orders and executive actions to show the American people that he's getting to work right away.
All right.
He's keeping
but
his
then
promises.
He's watching cable news and he sees truth and gets upset.
With all due respect, please let me finish. What he
does.
Well,
let's get to the part where he called you in and told you to go out there.
We brought the press corps in to witness the president getting down to work. What happens? They tweet out a false story, an racially inflammatory story that the president has removed the bust of Martin Luther King.
Right.
That sets off the night. Correct. So thank you. That was false. We spend a good chunk of that evening cleaning that up because for a lot of people, once they saw that, they thought that the bell had rung and we had to go out there and make it very clear that that wasn't in fact true.
I'm not going to argue with you. Listen. I'm not going to argue with you that the media has reported numerous things about President Trump that are false. And when they're to his detriment, they love it even more.
Right.
But right now, I don't have them sitting here. I have you.
Right. But
and what you said there wasn't true, and your boss said the same thing.
And what I'm saying to you is that you have to understand the mindset. Was then he wakes up the next morning and he sees all of these panel discussions talking about crowd size. And he gets upset that I think after winning an election as he did, where everybody was against us in terms of talking about whether we had the ability to win, they criticized the campaign, the structure.
You're trying to justify the misleading now as opposed to just
It's not true.
Apologize for it.
No, I'm actually saying I said if I could have done this over, I talk extensively in the book about several of the instances that you played on that tape and say this is where I could have done a much better job. I know,
but we've moved on from you to him. He's the one who told you to go out there. But he's the one who told you to go out there. You're very defensive of him on this point. You know as well as I do that President Trump is the one who wanted the inauguration crowd sizes restated.
No, I'm sorry. I'm taking responsibility for my actions. I went out there. I said those words. I could have done a better job.
Yeah.
And that's what I am responsible for what I did.
I got it. But you work for somebody who controls what you did, and you're honest about that in the book as well. We're going to pick it up on the opposite side of this break with the president's commitment to the truth and or lack thereof, and that SNL parody. You all know what I'm talking about. We're back now with former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer, who is out with a new memoir called The Briefing, about his time working for President Trump and his upbringing and his background in politics. I want to pick it up on the subject of President Trump's honesty, because I heard you tell Savannah that you believe he's a truthful man. Yeah. You believe he's a truthful man.
Well, look, I know in his own books he talks about hyperbole. He's a salesman. He's a businessman. He's always trying to make everything sound like the best. That's been his career in sales and as a real estate developer and a TV mogul. I think he's never sat in front of me and lied to my face or told me to go do anything.
But that doesn't mean he hasn't told many lies.
But I'm not.
Just because the lie was not to your face doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Yeah. Okay.
No, Sean, I mean, you're obviously dodging. I mean, why can't you just admit that he struggles with the truth?
I think he sells his policies and his achievements and his results. And that's who he is.
This isn't selling. These are non-truths, to be charitable. Wisconsin hasn't been won by a Republican since 1952. That's from President Trump. Nixon won it twice. Reagan won it twice.
88.
Since Reagan, no administration has been able to get tax cuts. Actually, we had tax cuts under Clinton, George W. Bush, very famously, and Barack Obama. The Electoral College vote that I got was the biggest since Reagan. Not true. George H.W. Bush's was bigger than his, so was Clinton's, so was Obama's. I had a very, very smooth rollout of the travel ban. What? Even you admit that's not true in your book. 122 prisoners were released by Obama from Gitmo. Not true. 113 were released by Bush. Claims he never said that Russia meddled in the election. He told Time magazine in December 2016, I don't believe Russia interfered. I could go on.
And again, I think there's several areas where he's used his hyperbole to...
No, that's not hyperbole.
I get it.
Those are
but
not truthful statements.
Okay, and you know what? I've made mistakes myself. I think we've all done them. That's all. I mean,
those are mistakes,
right? But I'm not accountable for every single thing that anybody else has said. But myself.
I know, but you're accountable for saying you think he's a truthful person.
That's what I believe.
Okay.
I think look, hold on. I do think like he, like everybody else, makes mistakes. I think that
those are all mistakes.
They are mistakes, but I think we all make them. And I think that there's had a level of intensity and scrutiny on this administration that has been absent a lot of times in the past.
I agree with you.
Thank you.
I agree with you. But I feel very comfortable having this discussion with you because I was out on the air night after night on Obama. If you like your plan, you can keep your plan. Those were lies, too. And I called him out on those. And I'm calling out President Trump on his lies as well.
But that's, and I think to the degree that, as I said in the last statement, we're all accountable for what we say. I'm accountable for my words, for what I've said, whether it's on behalf of, when I've gone out personally to suggest something. And if you came back with a series of things that I've said, I'll take accountability.
Yeah, but you
for
work for Trump. I mean, you can't.
I've worked for countless politicians.
You can't distance yourself from President Trump and say, I'm only taking responsibility. You were his press secretary.
Right.
You were his mouthpiece.
Correct.
And if he told you to lie, you were comfortable doing it?
But that's why in the book, I walk through those seminal moments in the campaign and the transition in the White House and talk about areas where, you mentioned the travel ban. I think we could have done a much better job of rolling that out, about communicating effectively, coordinating it through the whole of government experience.
What did you think when you saw him in Helsinki stand up and say, I don't see any reason why it would be Russia that interfered?
I was glad to see him.
I know you were glad. You were glad when he
Tuesday.
walked it back. But what did you think when he said that next to Vladimir Putin?
I thought he better make sure that he clears this up.
Because why?
Because
why?
I think there's a difference between allegations, which we've seen nothing so far, of collusion. And meddling in the election, which I know he is aware of because we've been briefed on that extensively. It's gone on for decades. This happened. This is not unique to this administration. Russia and other countries have tried to meddle with the United States' elections for quite some time.
Mm-hmm. And so you believe him that it was a misstatement, that he meant to make it a double?
You know what, Megyn? I've spent a year, it's almost been a year since I left the White House. I've stopped focusing on every press conference and thing.
Oh, come on. This was national news that dominated every paper, every news.
No, I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying you're asking me my opinion. I'm glad that he...
And I'm asking you whether you believe him, that he was misspeaking.
If he says he was, then sure.
Okay.
I mean, I don't... I don't know what was going on. I wasn't there. And to sit here and say...
Neither was I. I'm able to draw a conclusion because I've had 47 years on this earth.
He went out and clarified it. I'm glad he did.
Okay. We still have to get to Melissa McCarthy and much, much more.
Sure.
We'll do that next.
Now, I'd like to begin today by apologizing on behalf of you to me for how you have treated me these last 2 weeks. And that apology is not accepted. Because I'm not here to be your buddy. I'm here to swallow gum, and I'm here to take names.
We're back now. The former White House press secretary, Sean Spicer, imitated so brilliantly there by Melissa McCarthy. And you, to your credit, you got in on the joke. I mean, what was it like to watch that?
Well, first, I would just say that Melissa's an unbelievably talented actor.
She's very good.
Look, I grew up in Rhode Island, in a small town in Rhode Island, with a really tight-knit family. And we weren't politically involved. And I know you talk about this in Settle for More. I mean, I was going to Washington to fulfill my dream of getting a job on Capitol Hill. But that's all I want. I mean, that was my goal. And then I go through this entire journey that I lay out in the book and have the honor of doing so many other things, working for the Republican Party, serving in the United States Navy for 19 years. And then I find myself not only standing at a podium, Which, I mean, I was in 8th grade and we took pictures outside the White House gates. And I'm thinking, like, hey, that's a pretty cool, I wonder if I can get a tour. And it's, regardless of whether you're Republican or Democrat, the idea to stand behind that podium is, it's surreal. It's an honor
Humbling.
that I never, I mean, it literally was my American dream.
But the other
then to
thing
have
about
Melissa
you
McCarthy
is,
do that and be part of, I mean,
the history,
I mean,
right.
just the history that's in this building.
The other thing about you is you've done a lot for Republican politics, and I think the book does a good job of laying out how the RNC, where you worked before going to the Trump campaign, really set Trump up for success in mobilizing the voters and so on like that. They were sort of the unsung heroes, if you're a Republican, of helping Trump with his electoral victory. Can I just ask you, so if you look at Trump on paper, his policies have been very good for Republicans. They've been very strong for Republicans.
Absolutely.
From the judicial appointments to the tax cuts to the rollback of regulations. It's his character and these things that we've been discussing that get him in trouble. But what do you think about the media and its zeal to cover this president's problems versus how they covered our last president, who also had some problems of his own?
Look, I want to be very clear about this. I think a healthy and robust press corps is essential to a democracy. I write in the book extensively that there are some extremely talented reporters that cover the White House and cover politics. And that's the model that we should follow. They are tough and tenacious. They fight hard for the truth. And I didn't like every story that most of them wrote. But I always felt as though they did a good job and they were straight about how they covered it. I think too often, though, now we find members of the press corps that take to Twitter to comment on everything, to focus on palace intrigue, to make the briefing about them. They all want to try to get their 15 minutes of fame.
They've lost all objectivity.
And I think that that's the and I try to lay out in the book some constructive criticism of both sides, saying here's where elected officials and government and government officials can be better at working with the press corps. But I also think that there's areas where the press corps can be better. Savannah Guthrie herself, in a July 2017 interview on MSNBC, talks about how, you know, we shouldn't make a mountain out of molehill in every tweet. And every
well, that's what we do. People get the vapors in response to every tweet he issues.
I think that
and honestly, if they had done that for prior presidents, it might be more interesting. But they have a special, special place in their hearts for President Trump.
I don't know if it's their heart.
Well, whatever. But I think there is a legitimate case to be made that the media clearly leans left. But there's also one to be made that this president deserves more scrutiny, given the number of falsehoods he spews on a daily basis. That's just the case. I'm going to steal the last word. The book is well worth your time.
Thank you.
It's very honest, and I love your background and your family. It's called The Briefing. It comes out on Tuesday. Check it out. Good luck, Sean.
Thank you, Megyn.
We'll be right back.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.